On today's show.
It broke my heart into pieces. We tried to.
Oh my fucking god. You gotta hear the chorus.
This is K-Rockcast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us. Hi, everybody. We're back. We wanted to release a Hot Takes episode, share our reaction to Woosung's live stream that he held on January 21st into the 22nd. And Kelly, you know, we like to tease Sammy just a little bit on this podcast, don't we? I like to personally refer to him as the king of recycled jokes. And we like to say he wears the same clothes every day. But now I think, Kelly, we might be able to add, is he now the king of recycled spoilers?
Yes.
Can we now call him this?
Yes. He is the ultimate tri-threat. Yeah.
So we had to call this episode Into the Recycling. And we'll get to that, viewers and listeners, in more detail. But we wanted to share some of the information, just some of the updates. And then I think there were some funny and heartwarming moments from his live stream. We even got some reaction from all of you, our followers and our listeners, about what you thought of the direction of the Rose's new music. So we're excited to share your reactions, not just our reactions, in today's episode. So why don't you kind of kick us off, Kelly? Let's talk about the Rose documentary, which is so exciting. We're getting closer and closer to the release of the film.
Yeah, we are almost there. So the reason we got the live was the fact that he was in Korea at the time with the guys to do promotion for the documentary. They're doing interviews, and so there will be new content coming out, and the release of the documentary is February the 14th. Because if you can pick a cheesier date, why not pick Valentine's Day? I don't really know what that says, to be perfectly honest, other than the fact that there are some Black Rose widows that are probably going to be dragged along to this kicking and screaming, or they'll just go, sod it, you go on your own, I'm not sitting through that.
I know, exactly. I'm like, how many husbands are happy about this?
Not many. No, not many. However, there have been a lot of comments about the fact that the film isn't showing in a lot of countries yet. And just to sort of let people know and be aware of this, yes, the film is out for release, but it has to be picked up by the actual cinemas or cinema chains that are doing it in each individual country. So you will see on the Rose documentary website countries being added continuously. Now, it looks as though certain countries are getting more showings than others. If you find that your actual area isn't having any showings, please go on to the Rose documentary website and just put a note in there. There is a way of contacting them just to say that you would like the film to be shown in your area. So, for example, the film wasn't showing in the UK up until literally a few days ago. It's now available in a smattering of cities that all seem to be one-sided. I hate to say it isn't the UK, it is actually just showing in England. So there's no showings in Wales, Scotland or Northern Ireland, and Eire seems to be missing as well. But obviously, if you want showings in that area, please go to the website and voice your request, and they will do their best to do it. So the website is therosedoc.com, and literally it'll say check the list of theatres. You can click on there and it will bring up all the cinemas that it's being played in it. And then there's the link in there as well to contact the film team. They are actively working on it. It is the film industry, I'm afraid to say, and also the fact that that time of year is also very full of films, because obviously we're at the start of the award season at large. So yeah, they've done well to get it on at that time of year, I must admit.
Yeah. So hopefully, if it is in your area, get tickets, come out, support the film, bring a friend, bring a family member. Very excited, and we'll be talking more about the film. I was excited to hear them doing interviews, Kelly, because I feel like you and I criticize them a lot on this podcast. That we
Yeah.
feel like they do not do much promotion. They don't do many interviews. So I got
Yeah.
super excited when he said that they're doing interviews.
I hope they're not all based in Korea, though. I hope some of them are potentially going to be sort of digital interviews and, you know, call interviews as such. Because I think this is something that they miss out on every time. It's got to be, if you're showing something internationally, you need to do press internationally as well. So I kind of hope that they're doing that and they're not just sticking to this niche zone that they seem to have pushed very heavily with at the moment.
I admit, because that means the interviews will be in Korean, which means it will be more limited for their international fans to watch them, understand them, you know what's going on. But I'm with you. I mean, I think we've said this on the podcast a lot. They obviously are very focused at promotion in Korea. They want to get back in that market. So I wouldn't be surprised if these interviews are them trying to get back into some of these Korean shows. And this might be what they feel is kind of that foot in the door to try to get, get their foothold back in that market.
We've had this conversation before privately, and I think I've even said it actually on the podcast. It's kind of a strange thing in the sense that if you make a big enough name for yourself, it's that old adage, if you build it, they will come. So if people ignore you to start off with and you get to a certain point, they start coming to talk to you. And I kind of hope that they will start to understand that themselves instead of continually knocking on the door and asking for breadcrumbs. One of the other things as well with the documentary, and this is something that it really needs a big showing on the 14th. It needs people to go out and see it on the 14th and the 15th, because the opening weekend is basically what guarantees a longer shelf life in the cinema, basically. So the more people go out and see it on those 2 days, it means it'll be kept in the cinemas longer, and it has a much better chance of having a life afterwards as well on streaming services and things like that, because that is what will follow afterwards.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So yes, just reinforcing what you just said, Kelly, if everybody who's listening or watching the podcast, if it's in your area, please go out and see it. And again, bring family, bring friends. Excited to hear your reactions more as more and more of you get to see the film following its release. So now let's shift a little bit into the other reason why he said he was in Korea, which I think he gave a drum roll for, which I have to say, Kelly, were you thinking the words that were going to come out of this man's mouth was not that he was going to work on the Roses music, but it was going to be like some solo album release? Were you thinking that?
I'm half expecting a solo album to drop at some point this year anyway. You can't help himself, can he?
Okay, so this is my hot take here, and I want your opinion, and then listeners and viewers, I want people's thoughts on this. I feel like his choice of words was very interesting. So he literally says, and I'm quoting it because I wrote it down exactly as the man spoke. The doc is coming out February 14th. Then hopefully a new album. And then hopefully, and he did that, that little, as you would say, Kelly, cheeky smile. See how I do that? Little Britishisms. His little cheeky smile he gets. And then he said, and hopefully a new something else. Now, what do you think this quote, new something else is?
Potentially either a solo album from one of the members. I mean, they have teased big things in the past, and then big things ended up being photosynthesis. Please bear that in mind. Don't get too excited. It could be a tour, because traditionally what follows an album is a tour. Or it might be the fact that they are actually setting up Windfall as a proper record label, not just a self-releasing record label, and they are going to have other artists on their roster.
I could kind of see that. I think it's something other than the tour, because then later in the live, he talks about a tour coming, you know, at some point, like after the new music. So I felt like this, like a new something else was definitely, like you're saying, I was like, okay, is this like solo music related? Is it business related? I was kind of in line with those two things as well. I mean, I am still hanging on. I am not losing hope of my Dojun solo album. That man needs
We all
to
want a
release some
Dojuni solo album. We all want one. Or maybe Dojuni is actually on the West End. Have you thought about that?
I mean, I would, him on the West End, you know, even if he did something in Korea on their like musical scene, like I would be happy. I just want this man coming out and having his like opportunity to shine, though. I think he doesn't. I feel like he's just more this guy that kind of likes to be in the background behind the scenes, but I'm trying to push him out there as hard as I can. All right. So viewers and listeners, tell us what you think. Did anybody else notice that like specific language he used? What do you guys think he could be referring to? Or do I just read too much into what this man says? Because as we'll talk about in a moment, the man talks out his ass like nobody's business, and we'll get into that later. But he also, this was a funny part, he literally spent like 5 minutes going back and forth with himself. Should he spoil something and play something for us? Should he not? I felt like I could see this little Dojun on his shoulder screaming in his ear while he was like contemplating going, no. And he was thinking, how much will Dojun kill me when I see them tomorrow? Like, should I? Should I not? Like, it was hilarious watching his like thought process through all of this.
You see, this is the difference between us. You sort of take it as him actually pondering other people's thoughts. I don't think he has that ability. I think he was just trying to rile up the audience, to be honest.
Rile up the audience
to
get us to be like
slightly manipulative. Ever so slightly.
Maybe, I mean, you know, that very well could be too.
You know, it's true. He was going to do it regardless.
I know. He was just thinking of like what he could get away with. So we put our feelers out to all of you because Sammy called out for all of us to be the A&R for the Rose. Let's give this a listen, and then we're going to hear what you guys said.
You guys were the A&Rs, and you guys could choose the music direction for the Rose for the next album. What would you guys want it to be? If you were to reference songs that we already wrote, like the vibe, tell me those.
So, Kelly, why don't you go into what our listeners said?
It was very definitely a combination of songs that were kind of like, as we said, it's more towards the rockier direction of what they do. Very much a move away from world, completely a move
Yeah.
away from World. I think that says a lot. I must admit, I didn't notice many people sort of saying that they wanted tracks like that were on World. I mean, there's one that's made the cut, but you'll know why it's made the cut. Back to Me was the one that just kept coming over and over and over again. Everybody loves that song. Then Alive, which is my personal favourite. Red, Eclipse, Sour, another one of my personal favourites. Take Me Down, which, as we both know, is our personal joint favourite. And the only one out of World that actually seemed to make the cut was Slowly. We all know why that was, and that's that amazing guitar. There was definitely
I agree.
Everybody was sort of vibing more towards the fuller, rockier sound than the stripped back version that we got last year.
I think so too. I feel like we talked about this of how people really enjoyed Woosung's solo song Driver on the Taxi Driver soundtrack as well, because it kind of went back to that driving rock sound. I think Slowly, you can say maybe more your thoughts on why people put that one. I feel like because out of all of the songs, it was a different sound for them, this blues sound that we had never really heard from them before. Where all the other songs, as we did that album deep dive, you know, they leaned into the sound of the Heel era when they wrote a lot of those other songs.
Yeah.
So Slowly was sonically different. And I think people they do, like you said, I've said this, right? This is kind of my personal opinion. I mean, my vote was Back to Me and Take Me Down. So I want them back to this upbeat pop punk, maybe, that kind of Back to Me Alive sort of vibe. What's your thought on the addition of Slowly, and then just in your general perspective, what you'd want to hear?
Come on, you know I love Slowly, mainly because of the guitar on it anyway. And it's an exceptionally well written song, and the reason that it stands out is because it's so different as well. That is why I think people picked it. But they're going for what I would say are songs that are defined as them. There's a very definite sound. And I don't mean the healing story. I mean the actual sound is them. And there's that bigger than sound to it, which for me, they've kind of been they sorely missed on the last album. Don't get me wrong, some fantastic songs on there, but it didn't necessarily feel like them. When you got Jewel, you had a progression from what they'd done before, and you could feel the progression and you could hear the progression to that pinnacle point. And I think people kind of miss that. And it's nothing to do with saying, you know, we don't want ballads and we don't want this and we don't want that. That's nothing to do with it. It's just the fact that I think they miss that joy. Because all of those songs, regardless of what the subject is, all of them have a joy in the music.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting perspective. I think you're right. Like, to me, I'll describe World in comparison to Duel. Like, World was so quiet, meaning like pulled in, you know, introspective, small. Duel was big, out there, right? That broad sound to me in their songs. And something like Red is like that, right? Take Me Down is like that to me. That was also you know, referenced.
I will honestly and truthfully say every single other album I will listen from start to end. World, I'll just listen to the odd track, which is kind of weird since that was the last album. I don't have that resonance with it. I can view it as a really good body of work, but it doesn't sit as close with me as the other albums have.
Yeah. I definitely listen to it from beginning to end, as a standalone, just like I do their others. But I'm ready. Like, to me, that had its place and that was great.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that and I respect it. And now I'm ready for the next. Okay, I'm ready for,
We've
let's go
had that
back
course.
to,
I'm ready for the next course.
yeah,
Entree's
I'm
done.
ready to
What's
get back
next?
to like,
Yeah.
yeah, the big, I mean, to me, I think I'll be interested to see what will, maybe I'll talk about this when we talk about the recycled spoiler a little bit, but like, what will be pulled out of the album that never was, and what will be like new music that they're writing. So maybe we'll talk about that when we talk about his recycled spoiler. But he also kind of wanted to know like other songs, not just of the Rose. And I put that out there and we got some interesting ones, Kelly. So let's talk about some of these. So username, I know some like really interesting ones. HANN3 username. Which follows us a lot on Instagram. Shout out to you if you're listening. Thank you for all your support. I know that username very well. That person said pop ballad-esque, like Just When I Needed You Most by Randy Van Warmer. You know far more music than I do. I don't know this song or artist. Do you recognize this one, Kelly?
I don't know the song, but I know the artist. I kind of get where they're coming from with it. Kind of.
All right, next one, Kelly. Maybe the most bizarre. Username, no offense to you if you're listening, 65IHM, who's looking for Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. An iconic 1980s power, like, dad rock ballad. I mean, I do call them dad rock.
You want dad rock. I mean, it is the ultimate dad rock.
Right, yacht rock. It's like the staple on yacht rock, right?
It's the ultimate dad rock. It really is.
Could we see them performing? Do we need to yell this out in sound check next time?
No. Dear God, no.
65 IHM username. Get on that. You go to a show, yell that sucker out. See what they say. That's hilarious to me. That was funny.
Yeah.
I might need to make a reel out of that one.
It is funny. I mean, at the time, I was listening to this, sat in the back seat of a colleague's car as he'd got his playlist on, and at this point, I had to stop him and tell him I was going to get out the car if he played ABBA one more time. So...
Now, next one, and I know this person, but I don't know how to say it. My Vincent 1967. This is me. Dear Maria, count me in by All Time Low. I'm right there with you.
Oh, I'm with that.
Yeah,
I'm with that.
Punk.
Yeah.
Then you know what we throw in? You know what we throw in, Kelly? A feature by Anson. Yes. On the next Rose album. Calling it. Can we make that happen? Can we pull these two people together? The power of K-Rock Cast.
Oh, you said the power of K-Rock Cast. I was half expecting to say the power of K-Rock Cast compels you. Who are you exercising?
Oh my God! The power of K-Rock Cast compels you. The power of K-Rock Cast compels you.
Get your rosemary beads out when you're holy water.
I love that.
God, I worry every now
and again. New meme unlocked.
Is this literally me stood underneath the streetlight in the fog wearing
Editor Kel
wearing a fedora?
The power of K-Rock. This is Editor Kel. The power of K-Rock Cast compels you.
This is Editor Kel, and every now and again I do actually wonder whether I need to call a priest for Anne, but that's a whole different conversation. Oh, God.
That's hilarious. Okay, moving on, as you would say. I'm taking way too long on this segment.
Yeah.
More grunge, like My Chemical Romance.
Right. My Chemical Romance are grunge.
Yeah, I thought that was a head scratcher. I will admit.
No, they're not grunge.
That
My
was-
Chemical Romance
Yeah.
are the kings of emo. Punk,
Yes.
hardcore, post-hardcore. Grunge is Nirvana and Soundgarden. People like
Right.
that. Mother Love Bone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was a head scratch in that one, Kelly. I'm glad you said something. Thank you. Let's clarify that one. I did not put the username on that one, so they will stay anonymous.
Annoys me ever so slightly, that one.
Now, H-Bear47. These are two good ones, Kelly.
Oh, God,
American Authors, Best Day of My Life, which I love that song.
Yeah, it's a fantastic song.
I could hear that kind of sound, or Go Big or Go Home, and then Lifehouse, Hanging by a Moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a good kind of sound for them too. Those were two good picks.
Yeah.
And then finally, username Liz.co.15. Love Liz. She's one of our avid followers. Shout out to her.
Liz.
Basket Case by Green Day.
Well, you know how much I love Green Day. So, yes.
They love Green Day too.
I don't know whether Basket Case, though. I feel like Basket Case is possibly a bit too punk for them.
Yeah, it might be a step too far. But
I think it's a step too far. They're a bit more Pretty Fly for a white guy, to be honest. XA on the hombre. They're not quite Green Day. Let's push them a little bit more towards that side of modern punk.
Yeah, right. I'm with you. Yeah, they're more poppy, but I love
Let's
that.
get Noodle on the job.
Now, I love playing A&R though. This was kind of fun. Thank you, Sammy, for allowing us to do that. And thank you all the listeners and followers that sent in lots of great comments. We were happy to highlight your reactions. Now, let's go into Recycled Spoiler King himself, Kelly. Walk us through this. When he did finally play us something.
Honestly. I don't even know where to start with this bloke. He gets worse as he gets older, to be perfectly frank.
Okay, do you think, we have differing opinions, do you think he did not remember he played this before?
Or he collectively
Or do you think he did it on purpose?
I don't know whether he potentially has early onset dementia, or whether or not he thinks his entire audience does, or whether or not he's just a cheeky little rat and he's just going to go, I'm going to play something new, but you've already heard it before if you were paying attention at the back of class. Because not only does Mr. Kim Woosung recycle jokes, not only does he wear the same 4 items of clothing over and over and over again, his latest thing is recycling spoilers.
Oh my God, let's give this a listen, everybody.
It broke my heart into pieces. We try to.
Oh my fucking God. You gotta hear the chorus.
That's the Rose, maybe like summer single, somewhere. But that's like next year. We won't even know when that's gonna be. Okay, let's. This is enough.
Dojun.
I love Dojun.
Summer single next year, which is now maybe summer single 2026, like 2 years later.
Or 2027, or 47, or 87.
Or it'll never come out.
It'll never come out at all, this bloody track. So yes, this track we've heard before, folks. Obviously, we got the very first snippet of it, so we got the intro line out of it. May I just also point out the fact as well, Ham Actors Union. This is why I
say that
think
again.
Ham Actors Union. It's not even
What does that
Ram.
mean? Ham actor?
A ham actor. Absolutely bloody atrocious. Oh dear. I'm going to play it. Oh, the shock, the horror. Just stop being a dickhead, just play the damn thing. We've already damn well heard it, and just say, look, we're finally going to release this track. Oh dear.
See, I'm not quite sure, honestly, like, because he does have a bad memory, I think. But
I really hope and
but
pray he hasn't got onset dementia, because obviously having members of my family that have had it, it's not nice. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
I also wonder if, because remember what he first said was, oh, I can't play these because it's just simply Ha-Jun, singing the melody into his phone. Which, I'm sorry, I was on the end going like, I really did type in more Ha-Jun vocals, of course.
Of course you did.
I'm like, yes, we need to hear Ha-Jun. But then that isn't what he played.
No,
so then I got thinking like, maybe he picked something that he honestly knew he had played before.
I think so.
So I don't know. I could kind of go either way, because I also can believe that he does have a shitty memory.
It's probably why he keeps wearing the same shirt, because he picks it up and goes, doesn't smell, so I obviously didn't wear it yesterday. I'll wear it today.
Oh my God. Maybe he just doesn't remember.
Possibly. It's Groundhog Day.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, that was hilarious. I have to say, before you go into the poll we did, it was funny because then somebody put in the comments, that sounds familiar. He goes, it should.
You don't want to know what I said while I was sat in the back of the car, because my two colleagues who were in front just turned around and went, what the hell was that, Cal? Don't ask. Just don't ask.
That was also a little indication. I was like, maybe tongue in cheek. Like, he was like, yeah, it should sound familiar. I've played it before.
Yeah, definitely should sound familiar, yeah. So the reason it sounded so familiar, as per the clip that we've just played you, was it was actually played on the 7th anniversary live in August 2024. And that's why. So we did a poll on IG to basically just ask what everybody thought of the new song. So please may I just point out, these are the words of an American. I didn't choose this wording. 77% said, it's fire! Exactly like that.
I even used the fire emoji.
I know you did. No, you did.
I love that.
23% people answered in a sentence that would probably sound a little more Kelly structured in, I need to hear more of this song to decide. Slightly more Switzerland. And then apparently nobody said, not my preference. Now, normally Anne knows when I reply to these, because I always go out of my way to find answering for something. So I didn't reply to this one because I didn't do this poll, because my answer would have definitely been not my preference, just to piss you off.
Oh, you're too funny. You're too funny.
No, I'm not. I'm just a pain in the arse. Anyway.
So what do you really think?
I love that track. I love that when they first played it, which is why it was stuck in my memory. I think we were all so disappointed when we'd heard this clip of music that had just got drive and power and bounce and happiness. It sounded like a summer song. Everybody wanted to listen to it, and then, no disrespect, then the World album came out, and it was like, oh, okay, it's lovely, but I hope we get, this is why we've all been saying all along, it's like, I really hope we get that track. So it sounds like that track is going to come out at some point. We also had an update regarding his voice treatment as well. So he said his treatment's going well, and he's actively getting treatment for his vocal nodules. It's been confirmed there's only one nodule, so he's lucky with that, because one nodule can cause two, and so on and so on and so forth. And he's having one of the typical treatments, which is basically a steroid injection, and it goes through the top of the throat into the vocal cords, so they treat it from underneath. And it'll either be a VFS treatment, which is a vocal fold steroid injection, or an intralesional steroid injection, So they're the two types that they actually do. That should sort the issue out. But as I've said all along, once it's sorted out, he still needs to start looking after his voice, or this is going to happen again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was glad that he gave that update. Let's move into some of the kind of the funny moments. So one is his hair. His hair's gotten extremely long, and he admitted that it's now getting on his nerves. And he may just, because he's very fickle, he may just suddenly one day like cut it off and then regret his decision to cut it off. But at one point I started laughing because he says, does IG have a poll? Can we do a poll to decide if I should cut my hair? And you know what it brought me back to, Kelly? His Twitch live stream days when he used to always have Cass. Does anybody remember Cass? Does anybody remember him?
Remember Cass?
Cass, can we do
the
a
lovely
poll?
Cass? Yeah.
Does anybody else but me think randomly during the day, what's Cass doing right now?
Not randomly during the day, but no. But then again, we do have a slight difference between us when it comes to these type of things. I don't randomly think about them like you do.
I just thought that was the funniest thing, because that was the first thing I thought of, was like, where's Cass right now? Can somebody do a poll for this man on Twitter? He would be like, Cass, can we do a poll? Cass would put that poll up in seconds. That man was on it.
He was. Yeah, he was. No, honestly, he knew what he was doing. And then obviously with Grandpa Kim on the control, it was an absolute boomer when it comes to anything technologically advanced.
I
He
know,
needed a
he's
Cass.
so
He needed
funny.
a Cass.
He needed a Cass. So if he's going back and he's going to try all these other technology tools, he better find that Cass. He better find Cass. Get him out of retirement. Whatever he's doing right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, shout out to Cass if you listen to this podcast. We love you. We miss you. And then we got to laugh about this shirt. Can I put a poll? I put money down, Kelly, because you know what? I like to do this on the podcast. I like to say things, and I can be wrong, but I'm going to bet one of those interviews we're going to see coming out about this film, he's wearing that goddamn shirt.
I take your bet, and I will raise you £1.50 that's on every single fucking interview. Every single fucking interview.
Oh, shit, you're right. You're probably right. He's going to have that guy. This man in his clothes, it's hilarious. And Cheryl from Woosung's wardrobe, get on it, Cheryl. Why are you so late to the game at telling us what shirt this is? I need the brand. We want to hear. This has obviously made the cut of his top 4 or 5 items, because he only wears 4 or 5 things at a time.
Well, let's put it. Let's put it this way. I think whoever the designer is at Marks and Spencer's for their new spring collection must have seen it, because I'm damn sure they've got a women's version actually in their new collection. It's been around that many times that it's being picked up again by high street brands.
Yeah. Do we all remember the blue flannel?
I miss the
blue
flannel.
Blue flannel was. R.I.P. Blue Flannel. Where are you today? Flannel. He's so fickle with his stuff too. That's the thing. When he likes something, he likes it a lot. He'll wear it over and over again, and then you'll never see that thing again, except for the Chanel sweater, because he probably paid so much for that Chanel sweater. He does wear that all the time.
I think every now and again it goes towards the recycling bin, and then he just goes, I can't do it, and then it comes back.
I think he does.
That's what happens with it. It's had better days. It is starting to look a bit rough, I must admit. Or was that just him looking a bit rough? I'm not sure, but something was looking rough.
It's all faded now. It's like, should I give this away? And then he just can't do it. But I think the funniest moment to me was what I call Yapper Sammy, because we know he's a yapper. We also tease him about that. And you know what it made me think of? We got on this little tangent, and it made me think of the March 27th live stream, Kelly, where we got Salesman Sammy. where he went on that tangent about the Rose Star. Do you remember that? You can
And
wear it
literally
here.
just-
and here.
I mean, if all else fails, we'll just stick him on QVC for crying out loud. I mean, people will literally buy shit just to shut him up.
He did say that he was so good at PR. So proud of himself.
Absolute bollocks.
We witnessed one of the most beautiful things, which is Kim Woosung talking out his ass. Because this man, he cracked once, almost once he cracked, but he kept it together well. Let's watch this clip.
Please save this live. I cannot promise you that. You know why, right? If you know me, you know I care too much about my Instagram aesthetics. Since the beginning of Instagram, you know, birth date, when it was born. And when Instagram came out, I was on Instagram. Like, I have proof. Like, I was on Instagram since like 2011 or something, right? Or even earlier, because when I was in high school. So, I'm like a original Instagrammer, original influencer. So, I cannot have this live thumbnail mess up my aesthetics that I've been keeping for more than 14, I can't do math. It's 2026, 15 years, right? OG Instagram influencer, OG YouTuber. Remember, you guys have seen all my videos that were like 15 years old. OG like MySpace, like Tumblr. But I can't say I'm OG TikTok because I was late to that train. And I'm still late because I still don't get it.
And you know, I love to troll this man as much as I can. That reel people have loved that reel because it just, it's like at one point he's naming just social media platforms like Tumblr. When was he ever on Tumblr? I was just like, it was hysterical. And but the irony of this, Kelly, is, and it was not lost on me, is that as he's going through his yap session, we had a follower shout out to Rainbow Tiger 0809, because people were just continually commenting. And let me bring this picture up so we can see this picture. So what I find is hysterical about this, shout out to Rainbow Tiger. She puts in the chat, go on K-Rock-Cast to talk about the doc. But the man never sees it because ironically, he's responding to the comment that I posted from K-Rock-Cast, which I think is like the irony of it. Had I not posted that comment, I wouldn't have set him off on his yap session and maybe he would have seen it. But I just thought that was hysterical. I was like, we were so close, Kelly. So close, but always yet so far away.
I don't know what is funnier, that or the fact that he almost had to get his toes out to count up to 15. You know the fingers were under the table. You know he was counting backwards.
He was like yapping and yapping. And if you could just see the comments at the time, it was like they weren't even listening to him. You know, it was like they weren't even responding to the things he was saying. It's like people were putting in like, I like hot pot. Like, I you know, this or that. Or like, it was like random comments. Like they were tuning him out.
Perfectly honest. I hate to say it. I know you don't. I know you live for everything he says, whereas I'm the other way around and I'm like, I just zone him out. So I'd probably be asking about hot pot as well.
Oh, I love when he gets in his yap sessions because he's hilarious. He's so funny. He just loves to talk.
Don't you think it's a bit like talking to your grandpa when he's on a sugar rush?
It is. Oh my God, it is. Yes, it totally is. So why don't you go into our next little section where he was kind of talking about ways now going forward he could communicate with fans.
So again, now, because we've not heard this before, because again, back to the recycling, because again, this was brought up previously on 2 previous lives. one of which was one of his solo lives and one of which was also a Rose live. But we won't get into that. We'll pretend that that never happened. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But anyway, he was asking fans how he wanted us to communicate with him and vice versa. Obviously, he said he's not one for photographs, but obviously he has the best curated OG Instagram page that there is, but he's not one for photographs.
Right. That was what was so like out of his ass, right? Like he contradicts himself all the time.
There is such a whiff of bullshit emanating every time he opens his goddamn mouth. It's like, seriously. This is Editor Cal. Now, obviously we may have hinted at the fact that Mr. Kim Woosung does tend to have a whiff of bullshit about him every now and again. And apparently even Instagram agreed with this, as they cut short his live to an hour, even though we seem to be able to manage 3-hour lives with DPRian and Cloudian. Anyway.
Oh, it says that there's only like 7 seconds left. What is that? What does that mean? What is the countdown going on up there?
But he was basically saying that he really should do more IG lives. When he's in the studio with the Rose as well, they should do more IG lives as a group. And he asked everybody who was watching the live just to comment with how they would like that form of interaction. So fans suggested IG live, Discord. Anne's put on here, are we recycling Discord? Well, why not? We've recycled everything.
Dude.
Bloody else.
I know, when he said Discord, I was just like, dude, don't go back to, like, you've already been there. Like, stop.
Well, I was going to say something then, but I'm not going to. I'm a lady. Anyway, YouTube Live as well. Twitch, because obviously that's another one we can possibly recycle as well.
I know, he already had his Twitch era.
He's already had his Twitch era, and to be
perfectly... But then we can get Cass out of retirement, so I might be down for that.
This is true. Well, I mean, Cass was heavily involved with Discord as well.
Oh, was he? Okay. Yeah, I just know him from the Twitch era.
No, he was, bless him. He was heavily involved with that. But basically, at some point we might start seeing a little bit more streaming happening, maybe. Or maybe.
I love when he does that, Kelly. He's like, maybe.
Or maybe this will be brought up again in about a year's time on another live, and they'll go, I really need to contact you people more and let you know what's happening. How shall I do this? Yeah. Anyway.
No. I think, though, what was interesting to me was, and this kind of maybe goes into our last little segment of the fan interactions. I think in the last 3 times within the last, I'll, give or take a year. So we had a one in March of 25, one in August of 25, and now this one in January of 26, where he's been solo coming on live. You see this evolution throughout the live. He's awkward. He feels like it's so out of place for him. And he admits that. And then you see this evolution where he does feel most comfortable when he interacts with the fans and he has another person he can talk to rather than just responding, which I gotta admit, like, I'm new to this live stream thing. And I felt lucky because when we've done it, I do it with another person. Like, I can have that live interaction where you and I are talking and it's not just talking to a screen with comments that come in. So I can totally understand how that can feel. If you're not doing it much, can feel very awkward. But it was interesting to hear him reflect throughout this live of him almost remembering how much he enjoyed it when he did things that weren't coming on because some shit hit the fan and he has to clarify, or coming on because someone's telling him, you got to go promote such and such, Sam. So maybe you should do a live. When he was coming on live and he said, remember when I used to cook with you guys? Like, it was like, he was like remembering and he was like, that was fun.
Yeah.
And I could kind of see him start to remember how he used to enjoy interacting with his fans, and that, you know, I think he does genuinely want to find a way to get back to that. And through this live, he did a lot of talking to fans, pulling them in. And there were really heartwarming exchanges. I thought it was really nice. What we've said about him before in the podcast is I think he has a way to make people feel at ease around him because it's cute. You know, the fans come on and they're nervous. They don't quite know what to say. They get so excited, but you see them by the end so comfortable talking with him, and everybody just has a natural conversation with him throughout. And that was really like heartwarming, I think, to see. And there was one fan story that we want to end on today that I think was very, very heartwarming. We did get this person's permission. It's so funny. It's a small world, isn't it, Kelly? It turns out Veronica is actually a follower of K-Rock Cast and an avid listener to our podcast. So when we reached out to her to ask her if we could highlight her story and get her permission in this episode, she was so excited because she listens to our podcast and follows us. So let's watch this as we wrap up for today.
It's wrong to say that a band particularly saved you. You know, we are part of the process as well, but I have a friend who passed away, and she was the one who showed me your music back in 2019. And having her pass and listening to She's in the Rain was really hard at first, but I've been through a lot, and listening to your music and seeing how hard you guys work and how much you love what you do has been an inspiration for me. And I just wanted you to know that, because I may not have this chance ever again. So I'm really, really grateful for everything the Rose does, and you guys existing and making the music and what you do is a huge light for a lot of people. So I hope you know, across borders, like Honduras, a lot of people doesn't know where it is, but now you know that people in Honduras love you. So yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, I honestly think the beauty in music is that, you know, that you get to share those memories. Like, I know, like, if something happens, like good or bad or sad, whatever happens, and sometimes it's hard re-listening to the song because it brings back memories and smell and everything. But as time passes, I really think the beauty in music is that, right? Like the nostalgia. And I'm so glad that you have one of our songs that you could hear and remember your loved one by. So that's the main reason why, like, this is like important, like, for us, that, like, you know, we just get to share these like such positive energies and heal together, you know, at the end of the day. So
For sure.
It's good to hear.
100%.
It's a good story.
Yeah, I just really loved that. I thought that was just kind of maybe a nice way to wrap up our reaction. So while, you know, he might be stale when it comes to his jokes, his outfits, and even his spoilers, I think still the fan interaction that the Rose has and the impact, you know, they have on their listeners with their music, I think that will never get stale. So that's it. All right. Tell us what you thought, listeners and viewers, of his live stream. We want to hear more what you think about the new direction of the music. And let us know if you're going to go see the documentary film. As we continue to cover the film, we want to hear about how all of you think of the film after you see it. Please rate our podcast. Leave us comments about this episode. We always love to hear that feedback. Follow us on social media. You guys know the drill by now. Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube. We are at KROK_cast all across the board.
Click here to subscribe.
Email us at krock.cast@gmail.com. Check out our website. Kelly, we've been doing a lot of improvements on this website, so definitely give our website a review. We have all of the episodes in one easy place for you to access, as well as translations to the Rose's music, bios about our amazing geniuses behind the scenes, and featured artists, and much, much more. future merch is coming soon. So be sure to bookmark our website. That is krockcast.com. All right. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, this is Christmas from 8 Years. You are watching and listening to K-Rock Cast. Check out their podcast and K-Rock recommends for my music and other great independent artists.